In this episode, we talk about 3DMJ and find out if I'm going to compete or not. Welcome to RCLJ's episode 31. I'm Luke.
I'm Lawrence.
And today we're going to discuss Team 3DMJ.
Also, we didn't phone each other and plan the outfits.
Although Lawrence did say that, I was like, we're always in blue. I've got a clicker here. I don't know why. It's for later. I've obviously just got probably a Top Man t-shirt. And Lawrence has gone for the old... This is the special limited edition
Very
Nike
limited
version.
Oh yeah.
Academy
How many of these
top.
are in existence? 8 tops?
8, 10.
Yeah.
That's about it. So Lawrence, I'm gonna interview you. You didn't even know I'm gonna do this.
I need to practice for this because I'm actually going to be on a podcast and not a host, and not as in on SBS Radio. I'm actually going to be a podcast guest, which is really cool. I'm going to get this plug in nice and early because I'm excited about it. I only planned it today. Push Pull Legs podcast. Should be on iTunes. Go find it. I'm going to be a guest on there. Episode's probably going to be out next week at some point. So I need to practice being interviewed.
So yeah, let's practice. So the 3DMJ conference went down on July the 2nd and 3rd. So July the 2nd we was at Stamford Bridge.
Yep.
We had over 200 people. And then July the 3rd we was at City Athletics. So big thanks to Chris Burgess for sorting that one out. Thunder for sorting out Stamford Bridge. And Sean Stafford for City Athletic.
And Jackie.
She was helping out on the day, so thank you, Jackie. And we had about, I think we counted about 40 people doing practical.
It's about that.
And Lawrence, so what was some of the feedback's been great on the conference, let's be honest.
It was really, really good.
So we do really appreciate that. There's if you want to find that, if you can look on the Facebook page, there's a few live streams. Go on to Instagram and just use hashtag 3DMJ conference. You'll get video clips, photos, etc. So if you missed it, you can sort of reminisce. Well, if you was there, you can reminisce, and if you wasn't there, where were you? You missed a great event. But Lawrence, what are some of the take-home points you got from the conference, especially, let's say you're on the Saturday?
So from a more kind of big picture thing, little things count. Like, they make far more of a difference, a positive difference than you'd think. It's not a case that they're necessarily subtractive if they're not there. Mm-hmm. But for example, like the programs we had, people loved those. And to most people watching this, you might think, oh, well, we got an example of one? There's one on the desk?
Shout out to M-Dog on the camera.
Yeah, so you saw this in last episode, but something like this.
Don't show them the discount codes for the car.
Don't worry. But it's it's an A4 booklet. It's about 10 pages long. Yeah, it looks quite nice. There's some nice things in there, but for most people, you'd think, oh, that's just a small little thing. People loved them. And they made a really big deal out of this. You saw people flicking through them. They kept looking back at them. It's just a little something that we just gave out for free that really enhanced people's experiences there. Then the air conditioning, that wasn't necessarily something that people noticed, but we made sure that the room was as comfortable as possible for the attendees. Because in the past we've had things where things have been too hot, and that has really taken away from people's experience at the conference as a whole. So just making sure the little details are in place can make a huge difference. And I think a lot of people can kind of take that away to their own kind of personal training.
Yeah, just over-delivering. Because if we didn't have this,
they
wouldn't have been like, oh, it's ruined the event. Because it was that's when people were looking at, how can you over-deliver? So little things like this, over-delivering. Little things like getting special T-shirts made just for the attendees.
It's stuff like that. If you are training people in person, do you have like a welcome pack that you give them when they first sign up? So maybe include like a booklet like that with some educational stuff about nutrition, about training, maybe some exercise demonstration type things, just in case they get stuck if they're training on their own. If you're training someone online, what resources do you give them? Do you send them their plan via just like an email?
Or a Word document with
squiggly Word
lines.
document with like typos and stuff in? Or do you make a really nice looking PDF document? Do you make a really nice looking spreadsheet that works really well? Do you send them? It's like, technically, if you send someone their plan via an email or a Word document, you are doing your job. Like, they're paying you for your services and you're providing them with a service of sorts. But just putting a little bit more effort in, or in this case, a lot more effort in.
I mean, this took weeks, didn't it?
Yeah, that took a long time to design, to get printed, everything else. But it makes a big positive difference. What else is there on the Saturday?
What about the actual
3DMJ? Yeah.
The speakers.
So on a more kind of a less meta approach, I think Eric's analogy of kind of the various stages of flexible dieting to learning how to swim, I thought that was a really, really nice analogy. It's not actually one I'd heard before. So he kind of compared full macro tracking to being in the deep end of the swimming pool. And if you're teaching someone to swim, you wouldn't take a toddler and just chuck them in the deep end. But that's called child abuse. He kind of likened just reading the back of food labels and just getting a kind of a feel for how macronutrients are listed on food labels, roughly how many calories are in certain portions of things. That's kind of your shallow end stuff, and you gradually move towards full macro tracking. But then he had free ocean swimming as well, which I thought was a really nice way of just describing eating intuitively and just kind of swimming through the ocean. I think free ocean swimming would probably be, you'd have to imagine yourself as a fish rather than a human free ocean swimming, because if I was free ocean swimming, I would be terrified. If I was a fish, yeah, I'm at home there. I thought that was a really nice analogy. And then the other one who really stood out for me in terms of the talk, don't get me wrong, they were all brilliant, but one who really, there was a kind of a light bulb moment for me, was actually Brad. Brad was talking about dynamic training for contest prep, and it was a really interesting way of structuring the talk. He only had kind of half an hour or so of actual structured talk, and then said, look, I want some of your examples, like give me some scenarios and we'll go through how we would structure your training, which I thought was a really cool way of doing things and a really nice way of getting the audience involved. And our man Gordon Greenhorn, who is currently prepping, asked a question about his personal circumstances. He's been running a kind of a daily undulating periodization type setup for 11 weeks now. He started with some base percentages for each of his main lifts and has just added small increments from week to week, and he's starting to feel a little bit beat up. And now obviously some of you may be thinking Brad clearly suggested a deload, which he did, but the thing that sparked the light bulb for me was him saying, if you've been training for 11 weeks, continually progressively overloading without a deload, you'll probably need more than just a week of deloading. You may need
dropping body weight
and
at a good rate.
Exactly. So you probably need more of a deload than just for 3 weeks. Just for a week, you may need up to kind of 2 or 3 weeks. And it sounds kind of stupid, but that was like just an oh yeah moment, because we tend to think of deloads as this very set in stone thing of it's a week, it's a deload week. Whereas he made a very good point that if you've accumulated that much fatigue, you probably need a bit longer to recover from it. Mm-hmm. And so that changed the way I thought about deloads, about tapering in volume and stuff like that. So those are the two things that really stood out to me, other than all of the speakers just doing really, really well. They were awesome talks.
Yeah.
So much so that by the end of the Sunday, Luke wanted to compete. and is planning on competing.
So yeah,
next year.
I'll go on about Sunday. So you done Saturday. So the guys,
Yeah.
3DMJ, if you're watching, I know Andrea watches it. All the
Shout out to Andrea.
Yes, who finished off the day.
I would like to apologise for the first couple of days. I kept saying Andrea.
Yeah.
But it's Andrea.
What did you call him, Doc?
Andrea.
Yeah. So
I introed Andrea. It's Andrea.
But it's Andrea. So big shout out to BFF Andrea.
I did the right one.
Yes.
Yeah, so Sunday.
Yeah, Sunday we went City Athletic. We couldn't get in till 11 because it's Sunday, and in central London you'll be lucky if anything's open on a Sunday.
It's also in the financial district, so on a Sunday morning, it is dead.
Yeah.
Like there is, I was walking through, it was just like a ghost town. It was awful.
So yeah, on Sunday we started off. Helm sort of took the lead on the teaching the 3 big lifts, which we spent a good few hours on. Got people involved, analysing their technique, which was good. Then we broke them up into 2 groups, and we had upper body, lower body accessory work. And then my request was getting Jeff to do a sort of a mini posing coaching session. And big shout out to Stephen Box. He's basically, I think he's got a competition in 5 weeks, or his first one, and he's actually coached by Jeff. And I managed to convince him to get down into his pants and stand in front of 40 people
and flex.
So it's very. I wanted to make sure that we had, because Jeff is like one of the best, or
Jeff is incredible at
posing, not only posing himself but coaching it. He's done many stuff in the States and actually like posing workshops, and to have Jeff over in London and the whole 3DMJ team and not actually have Jeff do anything on posing, I think would have been a crime.
Definitely.
So managed to get enough people to say, yeah, Jeff's currently prepping himself, but he's only in the very infancy stages of that. So I don't think Jeff was going to start getting his top off. So yeah, big thanks to Boxy for doing that. And people had always said in the past, when I was getting into online coaching a few years ago and was in decentish shape, why don't you compete? And I know many personal trainers or online coaches compete purely from a business point of view. If I get really shredded, I'll get a ton of photos, and then I'll get a load of people asking me for online coaching. It does to a certain degree. You would probably get more clients, or those types of clients. But for me, back in the day, it wasn't really a thing. I was like, I don't really want to get that shredded and get on stage. And it would have made more sense. And even on Snapchat today, @ShredByScience, I gave my reasons for wanting to compete next year. So I'll be competing next September. And the catalyst was watching Jeff coach Boxy, because Boxy started off with like a pose, and Boxy, to be fair, he did look like really small. And then Jeff gave him a few like teaching cues. So it's like chest up, trying to create that tape up, arms out wider, and then Boxy's body went from like a guy who's obviously been dieting to, hang on a minute.
He looks like he lifts.
He's got a taper here.
Yeah.
So it weren't until Jeff started going through the coaching thing, and I thought, that's sort of the catalyst. And I want to do it now purely because when I saw that, it sort of, I quite enjoyed, it's sort of like, actually, it'd be quite good to step on stage. And it's more so I'm very competitive anyway. And my competition was karate, and then from karate, from the age of 16 onwards to 30 now, I've never had anything to really focus on and want to compete. So now people don't really expect me to compete because I have one client. So I'm not doing it for those reasons, as in I'm going to get shredded so I can get a load of clients, because I'm not taking on any clients. And I would be like the most shredded guy who runs a business and actually knows a bit about marketing, which is a complete pro. So it doesn't really make sense for me to compete now. So that also appeals to me. And probably just going through it. Like my aim now is just to compete once. But I might get the bug for it. You never know. And obviously you're thinking it's a year and a few months away. So I've got plenty of time. So it's just going to give me something to really focus on, have that competition, get back that competitiveness that I've had from the age of when I was probably born to. Mitchell knows how competitive I am. So getting that back, and I'm not going there. I'm not going to be like, oh, I'm going to win. I just really want to compete with myself. And if I'm going to step on stage, I better have striated glutes, because if I'm doing it only once, I'm doing it properly. So so I think overall it's a good weekend. It was really appreciate Lawrence and Mitchell for working on the conference. The 3DMJ team done what they do best. All the attendees, and thanks to Jeff, now I'll be stepping on stage next year in Skimpies.
So
and Gordon Greenhorn's already volunteered to pat my cheeks and tan me up. So cheers, GG.
Saves me doing it.
Exactly. Right, guys. I think that's about it.
We've gone on quite a bit. As from about January onwards is going to be Luke getting steadily leaner, and by the end of it, I'll just be sat like that.
We'll vlog it as well. So you're gonna, and I won't hold any, like, I'm not gonna go, oh, it's fine. If I'm finding it hard, I'm gonna be straight up telling you this shit is hard. And that'll be all on Snapchat. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time, where we will be discussing how to set up calories and macros.